Hi, everyone. It's Lynn from Devine Central. Today, I want to talk to you about how to have a longer one card reading. Now, what I mean by that is when I decided to take tarot seriously and take it to the next level, I hired myself a very good tarot coach. This man could pull a card out of the middle of the pack and do 15 minutes on it and make it interesting. Now, at that time, I could do probably 30 to 45 seconds and then I was done. And I would ask him, how do you do that? And the only thing that he could come up with, the only answer he could give me was, you have to have enough knowledge about the card. And I said, well, that's a great answer, but that's in theory. How do you do that? How do you develop that knowledge in the card? And so what I'm trying to do today is show you how you can develop that knowledge. So I started with putting together some prompts. And honestly, now that I have hundreds of readings under my belt through fairs and festivals, yeah, it was a little hard for me to come up with the how as well. It took me 2 or 3 days of thinking about it. And of course, now I can come up with more prompts, but that's tarot, right? So below down in the description, find the prompts in the order that I'm going to review them with you. And then at the end of this, I'm going to pull a card, or I'm going to pull a question, and we're going to go over the card, and you can count and see how many of these prompts I managed to hit. How's that? Okay? All right, so let me change cameras here. There we go. All right, so first and foremost, I want to say that I like doing cold readings. I like it in a positional spread where I have some boundaries and a system set up. Whereas with one card, I think it's like virtually impossible to do a one card reading without having a question of some kind. But once we have that question, then we are looking for the evidence of that question in the card. And the wonderful thing about tarot is there are so many symbols in the card that once we learn them and we learn which ones mean something to us or resonate with us, then our psyche, or if you believe as I do, spirit, will guide us to that particular symbol in the card, or that color, or that person, or where that person's looking. It's one of those things that you just develop over time with practice, but you have to start with the knowledge. So I want to first say that setting the intention with the question, knowing where you're going, that's going to make a difference. So what is the key lesson that we're looking for? What do we need spirit, or what do we need our psyche to convey from that card? Where is the problem? Where's the solution? How much of it's on the querent side? How much of it is out of their control? Okay. So I like to ask questions like, what is the end goal for this reading? What is it that you're looking for today? Then I look for the evidence. I look for spirit to guide me to that symbol or to that evidence in the card. I hope that makes some sense. So let's start with prompt number 1. I'm going to be using, again, the Six of Cups Rider-Waite-Smith, but I want to show you we have so many different cards. This is Rider-Waite-Smith. This is my Anna Kay, which is my favorite deck. Here is a new one, Cozy Witch, which is it's just a marvelous deck. And this Six of Cups I thought was great because it says, give yourself the compassion you were never given. So it kind of gives you an oracle to lead you into, maybe something different than what you might have thought in the beginning. Standard meanings, nostalgia, childhood memories, the past, right? Then we move into additional meanings that you have come up with on your own and that you have in your own little journal. And if you haven't started one, you should. Anyway, things like things that might come from the little white book from the deck, or from a blog or a vlog or someplace else, or even a discussion with AI. Let's do those. So for example, my go-to meaning for this card or phrase is something from the past is affecting the present. So this could be looking back. It could be old issues resurfacing. It could be a previous connection with someone, or a feeling of just familiarity that you have. It could be a trip back home, or simply a trip down memory lane. Or maybe it could just be a trip to someplace that holds significance for you that's coming up. It could be just looking at the history of something, because this is about looking back. So the next thing I would look at would be the shadow side. See, I don't believe in reversals, or I don't use reversals. I believe that every card has a light side and a dark side. And so what is the dark side of the Six of Cups? Some people look at this as, oh, beautiful childhood memories that they look back on. I mean, look at my Anna Kay card. Here it is. There you go. Here it is where she's looking, I don't, lovingly thinking back. She's surrounded by rose-colored flowers, and the columns that they are climbing are very close together. So the boundaries are very tight. And she's looking into dark sky as opposed to a clear sky. So maybe her thoughts are not as clear as history and reality really gave it, right? Something like that. Okay. So it could be about an old lover coming back into the picture. I would say remember that an ex is an ex for a reason. It could be that a current lover is hung up on something from the past, say an old lover, and not looking at you, but looking at them. So you want to try to find the dark side of that card and make a note of that as well. Now, the energy in the card is very important. So if somebody were to say to me, listen, I need to talk to you about something. Could you please come over? And I would say, okay. And all of a sudden you have these various scenarios swirling around in your head. It's like, is it good news? Is it bad news? What did I do? What did I say? It would be a long drive, wouldn't it? Be, and you'd start going through all these, like I said, all these scenarios in your head, and pretty soon you start to answer them. You start to say, well, this is what I'm going to say, or this is how I'm going to defend myself if it's about this or about that. What could it be? You know, your imagination starts to process all of that and prepare the story. And really, that's kind of like what you do here with the energy. What is the first thing that pops into your third eye? Or what's the first thing that crosses your mind? Or what is the one that's the strongest that crosses your mind? Use that to start your story. Because typically the first thing that crosses your mind is what your psyche already knows, or your unconscious already knows, or has already figured out. You just haven't caught up to it. Or it could be what spirit is leading you, the message, the direction that they're leading you. And that's that energy, and you need to build on that. The next thing would be symbolism. Now, what do you see, or what do you notice first in the picture? In order for you to notice things, you really need to go through and start building all of the symbolism that you see in the picture. And I just did a video with my friend Dee Schrader about that. It's another one card. I will put that at the end of this video if you want to click on it next. But once you look for all of the signs, what is the first one that pops into your mind? Now, there could be color. Let's talk about color first. To me, the blue sky with no clouds tells me that there's nothing hidden here, that someone is not trying to pull something over on you. See here, you've got very dark, murky skies. So maybe you're not seeing something clearly because it's so dark. Here in this card, we have clouds. So to me, cloud says maybe something's obscured, right? So that's symbolism and color together. To me, yellow is very inviting. And so I see the buildings are all in yellow. The courtyard is all in yellow. The cups are all in yellow. So it's something that's inviting. I see white, and in this particular case, white lilies, or anything in white, to me is about innocence or about honesty. And I see the cups lined up here. I can see, and I don't know if you guys can see this or not in yours, but in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, in most of them, there is a face in the little girl's hair. And to me, that tells me it's either two-faced. I think of two-faced, or I think of being at odds with oneself, trying to make a decision within yourself. Obviously, we see the boy offering the girl a gift, but is it a gift? Or, gee, for me, it's about childhood memories. I don't have the fondest of childhood memories. So maybe this is my brother giving me another apology and excuse for something stupid that he did, to me. And after a while, they add up. So is this somebody giving you all these wonderful gifts that you've received, or is this just a whole bunch of excuses and stuff lined up? And I'm going to come back to that in a minute. There's a guard in the background in this picture. So is this feeling safe where you are and with who you're with, or is this a need to feel safe? Is this a need to find a safe place? What is the first thing that grabs you? Where is the first thing your eye is drawn to? And I promise you, after enough readings, and when you're doing it with a question, it'll be a different place every time. Or sometimes it's the same place, but at least if you have a set meaning for it, then spirit will know where to draw your attention. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's symbolism. And in order to grow your symbolism, look at your little white book, but also look at books about symbolism, look at videos about symbolism. I've done hidden symbols in the tarot. They're fairly new, two videos that we've done. And also AI. It's fun. Plug in and say, what are all the symbols and what do they mean? Next on the list would be the action. What is the action in the card? He's obviously offering her these flowers. So is it conciliatory? Is he making amends for something? Is he offering friendship? Is he offering love? Where's the evidence? I mean, to know whether or not it's a gift or an apology, you will know by the question what makes sense for this action in the card. So rely on what you already know about the card and the question combined, because then you can come up with something that makes sense. I am very big on numerology. I love using numerology with the tarot cards. This is a 6. The 6 to me, is harmony restored after the chaotic craziness of the 5s. So you got the craziness, then you have those momentary moments on this journey. A 6 is in the middle, so it's middle of the road, right? In other words, there's more to come. And it's kind of a plateau, if you will, or a short-lived win if it was a wand. And it's what has come before this. What has brought you to this point? Obviously, in the 5 of Cups, to me, there was some type of a regret or some kind of a disappointment. And for you, it might be a loss or great sadness that's come on you, or depression, or something of that nature. But you might want to just take a look and look back and figure out from the question, what happened that brought you to this point? And again, rely on what's on the story, how it's building in your head. By now, you're going to start on that journey through that story. And whatever it is, how did it come to be with this card in the present? And then where is it going? The 7 of Cups, to me, any 7 for me is the retest. That's how I see it. So we've been challenged by something, we figured it out, and we had a plateau, we had some peace. Now we have to maybe re-examine what took place and see how we can fix it for the future. To me, we always get a retest before we move on, just to ensure that the direction we're taking is the correct one. And so for me, the 7 of Cups is about a lot of options. We can choose to accept or not accept this action, can we not? And what happens if we accept it? What happens if we don't? So it's not bad to prepare. It's kind of like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So I always like to have a plan B for every plan A. And I like to know from here going forward what I can expect. So with that, my next prompt is, What's the intention of the reading? Okay, so to get a clue of what you're looking for, you have to know where you've been, which is why I'm saying that the question really is important. So let's say that you're looking for a house, okay, or you're trying to figure out if a particular house that you have chosen is the one that you want. So for something like that, you might want to find out, why do you want the house? Do you want it because it's a safe place to raise children? See, here we've got a guard in the courtyard. Is it a safe place to raise children? Are you looking for one that has a garden because you love to garden, or you want to take up gardening and look at all the flowers in the courtyard? Let's say it's not related to the house. Let's say it's a relationship question. You want to know if this person's being honest with you. It's that kind of thing is what you're looking for. So what in this card could give you that answer? Look for the evidence from the question. These all build up in your psyche. And the brain has this amazing way of storing and tracking these kinds of things. So you might want to have some idea in advance, of different scenarios and how this card can play in different scenarios, be it relationships or finances or career or personal development, that kind of thing. Now we come to life experience. So what does your life experience lead you to believe about this card? I did a video a while back called Don't Leave Your Ego at the Door. I'll put a link below. And what I contend is that ego, which is in part an element of experience, you can't possibly remove that, or we wouldn't have any way of conveying to people what we're trying to say. Tarot is about a story, and we have to build that story, and we need our past life experiences to flavor it. So, for example, I could give you my rendition about the Six of Cups. You could give me yours, somebody else. Everyone that gives it to us, they're going to be similar, but they're all going to be different. And that's all flavored by our life experience. So that's not a negative thing. And if that's ego, so be it. So anyway, I digress. This card might mean gentle, wonderful memories of someone's childhood. For me, it's obligation of family. I have several brothers and a mom and dad that would convene all of us for the holidays. It was like a mandatory thing that we had to do. And I'm telling you that the whole lot of us could not get along for 24 hours without somebody picking an argument with somebody else. And honestly, now that my last parent has passed away, it's so freeing that I don't have to be obligated to seeing my family if I don't want to. And, honestly, I look at this card and it's almost a tinge of regret, but it's a feeling of obligation, of stress to me. It's like, oh God, here we go. I got to go do this thing. So we all have a different flavor and we all bring something different to it. So for me, as a cup, it's about how we feel. And it's meant to conjure up old emotions. Some are going to be good, some are going to be bad. But to simplify this a little bit, a child touches an iron and gets burned, and that child learns never to touch that iron again, and that's carried through our entire life into adulthood. So all of a sudden you pull this, otherwise, whatever, innocent card to a question, and the first thing that zips past your mind's eye might be, oh, childhood memories, and boom, you see that iron just fleeting out of the blue. It's like, where'd that come from, right? Maybe spirit is trying to tell you, or your psyche is trying to tell you, this person could get burned. Warn this person that they could get burned. See what I'm saying? That's how that life experience can work. And that's why you have to pay attention to all the small details. And you have to figure out all of these small little flashes and figure out where they came from, or why you're seeing them in the card. Now, if you consider the offer of the cup with flowers as a gift, again, would you accept that gift? What happens if you don't? Or what happens if the querent does not accept that gift? Or, again, they're all lined up at the bottom. For me, that's just a whole bunch of excuses that I've been through with my family. So as a minor arcana card, it's something that we know we can change, because that is our everyday to day, right? There are solutions that we can affect. If this were the Lover's card instead, which is the 6 in the majors, then it's probably under the universe's control. And otherwise, we can't change it. So the difference is taking action versus learning how to adapt. Okay. We need to define our personal connection through stories and through memories. And they don't have to be ours. They could very well be somebody else's, or something that we were a party to, or that we heard from somebody else. It's a story that we convey, right? And I'll tell you, it's these memories or these stories that we attach to the cards that we will remember first, because those were personal connections for us. So again, I see this card and I think of having to go home for Christmas, being summoned by my mother saying, you have to come because everyone's going to be here, and be prepared, bring something for church because we're going to go to church on Christmas Eve. And we're going to have the same food she made every year for Christmas. So we would all do the flea, come home, and we do what our parents asked, and we did it every year until they passed away. So that's my memory. And so going home, like I said, a lot of times people would act harshly first and then apologize second for it, and that's kind of what I see in this card. So for me, it's not the greatest card. For others, they'll have a different experience, but to me, it's about something that started in the past and just won't go away, which is how I come to something from the past is affecting the present. All right, so the last thing that we need to look at is advice. I like to think about it and work with advice moving forward on any given card in any given situation ahead of time. And again, your brain will store that, or at least if you know that certain advice comes from a card, then I think that that's what spirit will connect in your brain and bring you to that, because they know that if they say, this is the type of message I want you to get to the querent, you'll get that flash in your head. And if you're not prepared for it, then you'll miss it. But let's think about this card for a minute. What kind of advice? How about you are stuck in the past and maybe it's time to refocus your attention and your energies in the future? Maybe it's mending a broken bridge. Maybe it's just, if it's a personal development or personal growth question, maybe it's nurturing that child within now, giving to yourself. And that's why I think this card is so cool, because it says, give yourself the compassion you were never given. Okay. Or it could be taking off the rose-colored glasses with the Anna K card. The answer will come from your past, or maybe you will reconnect with someone from your past. If it's a career question, right? I need to get out of this company. How do I start my job search? Maybe, and you get this card, maybe it's reconnecting with a former coworker or boss that's moved on to a different company that will help you. It's those kinds of things that you can use to build your coffer of possible advice. It doesn't hurt to build that arsenal. And again, if you journal these, it comes in really handy. So let your intuition first and foremost do the work. Trust in what you're seeing in your head, because it's your subconscious bringing this up. Knowing that you know the answer is just bringing it to the forefront. Or if you believe, as I do, in spirit, then this is spirit sending this message to you for this card, because they're the ones that pulled the card. It was divinely chosen, or these cards were divinely chosen for this querent. And these were the cards they were absolutely meant to have. And the message is there. It's just a matter of you helping them find it. So as you do your practice and try to build and grow your story from just a single card with a single question, maybe take a page out of Lenormand, which is another cartomancy technique. In Lenormand, you take pairs and you match these pairs up and you write a sentence or two for every pair. And then you take these sentences that you've written down and you condense them into a narrative that becomes the story. And quite honestly, it can be quite accurate. And so if you've never seen it, go look at a Lenormand video. But let me see, where was I going with this? What I want you to do is consider maybe putting a free audio recorder on, your phone or on your desktop computer or your laptop or whatever, and maybe doing an audio recording. So start with pulling any card out of a deck and just do as long of a reading, and pull a question maybe, and do as long of a reading on that as you possibly can. Then go through these prompts and do a little bit of journaling, do a little bit of figuring it out, do a little bit of studying the card, and then go back and do it again and see how far that you can go with it. All right, so that's the lesson for the day. If you're interested, I'm going to attempt to do a reading here. Okay, so I have a bag of 600 questions for your tarot practice that you can find down below my Etsy shop. And I pulled one to do this video, and it was so good, I couldn't resist. I had to keep this question. And the question says, what do I need to understand about this situation to help me feel more sympathetic? Let me read it again. What do I need to understand about this situation to help me feel more sympathetic? Okay. They're not saying what the situation is, right? This situation revolves around another individual and something that happened between you in the past that caused you grave disappointment. And I think that you've been dealing with that emotion for quite some time. And I have a feeling that whatever it is that the individual did, it's some type of a repetitive action that just kind of keeps coming back around. It's as if they haven't learned their lesson. It's as if you haven't put your foot down, so you're feeling unsympathetic toward their situation. You're starting to numb up about the situation because you know what's coming and you just brace for it. Sometimes we need to do things differently in order to change the effect and change what happens. In this particular case, I see blue sky, which tells me that there's nothing hidden in this offering by this individual. I think he's coming back at you with probably another excuse and another apology for something that he's said or done, or something that he's asked for. Maybe they borrowed money and haven't paid it back, and now they're back asking for more money with excuses as to why they haven't paid it back. But I think that you're starting to feel like you need to defend yourself. And I think that it's getting harder and harder for you to want to accept their excuses and their apologies. I can see that the offer's being made, but you're not reaching back. You're not accepting it. You're not reaching out for it. And honestly, I think this is something that it's going to end up lining up over and over. And isn't it funny that he already has another one in the works behind it? Oh, so where are you going to go with this? I think that in order for you to understand why you're feeling so unsympathetic is by going back and looking at how you got where you are right now. And what role is he playing in this that he keeps repeating? And what is your role in it? Why are you accepting apology after apology or excuse after excuse for this? And I think that if you understand and can convey to them how you feel, maybe it's time to start offering a little bit of tough love. This is where looking at your options in the future come from. And it's starting with today. So maybe there are other options that you can use to replace the acceptance of this bad behavior, if you will. And maybe if you can understand where this came from, then you can not get rid of your lack of sympathy or empathy for the situation, but maybe you can actually learn how to accept it and that let it be okay that you feel that way. I mean, there's a difference between offering somebody compassion or being compassionate about somebody and actually being sympathetic with them. Those are two different things. So maybe what you need to do is figure out how to separate those two going forward. And then again, offer a little bit of tough love and stop allowing yourself to be put into this situation over and over again. At some point, one of you has to break that cycle, and it might as well be you. I hope this video was worth watching, and if so, if you could please like it, I'd appreciate it. And I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.